Alright, let's get the ball rolling tonight. Quick stream check. We'll do Twitch first. Alright, looks like we're in the clear on Twitch. And YouTube. Sound check. Looking pretty solid. Cool. Oh, you know, one thing I forgot to do is to check to make sure that the titles are showing up right. I think I fixed that last night. But I want to make sure it says the actual game that we're playing tonight, because we are going to be playing Marvel's Avengers. Yes. So we're in the right directory. That's good. And on YouTube, has the right title. Close player. Sorry, just bear with me for a second here. Yeah, no, it carried over the title right, so that's good. No drop frames. All right, I think we're good to go. So, okay, so tonight we're going to be doing the Mega Hype. So I thought that it was going to save my progress. Instead, it said in the quest steps that I was on Heroic Gauntlet 3. But now it's saying in the quest, in the objectives, that I need to start with step 1. So, not really sure what's going on with that. I just assumed it was going to save my progress. Like, if you look at the war table, yeah, see, it shows, yeah, Heroic Gauntlet 1 is the step. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Well, I think we'll rip through it pretty fast. And hopefully come out the other end with some exotics. We are going to try matchmaking again tonight. So I was reading a little bit about the Activision Blizzard earnings call today, and apparently Diablo Immortal is delayed from from 2021. They never had a release date, so we don't know when they originally planned, but it was delayed from 2021 to spring of 2022. That game isn't the most important thing going on over there, but it is worth noting because I was excited about that game, although I'm a little bit less excited after everything that's come out in the news. I'm also not sold that the way that they're going to be doing the free-to-play model is going to work out very well. I've lost a lot of trust in Blizzard over the last few years.
All our effort efforts against AIM have led us to this point. Our best chance for success will be to have Avengers ready to step in should a teammate become incapacitated.
I think their biggest misstep was, well, I shouldn't say their biggest. One of their missteps was that they just completely stopped development on anything related to StarCraft. And, you know, they probably ran the numbers and said, look, StarCraft, isn't going to make enough money for us to keep putting in
Uploading the entrances
resources.
to your HUD.
And sure, they punched the numbers on a spreadsheet and it didn't look good. But I think the goodwill that they had earned as a company by developing StarCraft games, they could have continued at least, you know, maybe doing expansions or something for StarCraft 2, and they shut that down. What was it? I think it's been a good year at least since they officially stopped supporting it. I shouldn't say supporting, because they're still, obviously the servers are open. There's still esports events and stuff like that, I think. The most recent competitive StarCraft I watched, I think, was from 2019, so I actually don't know if 2020 they just didn't do comp because of COVID, or if it was because just esports couldn't make it or figure it out with Blizzard. I don't know. I know. I think it was Activision that laid off a bunch of esports people. The esports support staff, not gamers, but the people that were supporting esports. So I just think that they don't have a. I feel like they've lost their vision and their footing on a market that was they dominated it. I mean, there's really no other RTS that really can compete all that well with StarCraft. I mean, there are other RTS out there, but they're not. They've never been at the caliber that StarCraft is. At least not in recent years. And I know I'm not comparing it to, Warcraft 3. Because first of all, that's the same developer, so it's sort of that's not a great argument because we're talking about Blizzard. But I'm talking about outside of Blizzard, there just hasn't really been major competition in that genre.
The enemies have been defeated.
I think one of the things that factored into was that the RTS genre is not at its high point right now. It's been there hasn't really been much demand for RTS in recent years, so it's not surprising that they would not be developing a StarCraft 3. But it is surprising that with the world that they built, all the lore and the characters, which from the original StarCraft are some of the best sci-fi characters that I've ever experienced in a video game before, that they didn't choose to do anything with that world. Think about all of the resources that they put into the world building in that game, and all the characters and the voice acting and the stories. There were some issues with the StarCraft 2 plots and expansions, like the Legacy of the Void content was so silly, and Heart of the Swarm was also kind of silly too. Not as bad, but really the only story in StarCraft 2 that was decent was Wings of Liberty, the first one that came out, the vanilla launch. But StarCraft 1 and Brood War, like, there were so many good characters and storylines in that game, in those games, and it's just such a shame that they're not doing anything with that. There was that rumored StarCraft Ghost back in 2004 that they did, that there was some footage that leaked for that game, so there was proof that they actually were working on it. But like, that never materialized. They canceled that, and they never did anything else with that with that IP. So I don't really know. You know, I think StarCraft could work in other genres of games. Like, I don't think they needed to have stuck with RTS. Like, they could have pursued an action game, I don't think a looter like this would have been good. Definitely no. Stay away from the live service looter model, for sure. But I think I'm trying to think, like, I feel like a game like this, like the single player of this game, but in the StarCraft universe with some of the different characters, where you have kits, you have like Jim Raynor and Samir Duran and the Protoss characters, I'm forgetting their names, like Zeratul, that those guys could have had their own kits, and you go to worlds, you fight enemies, and there's a plot line and all that. And you kind of mix and match between characters. They could have made a game that focused on a single character. Like, I don't think that would have been a bad idea, and then maybe come out with expansions for other characters. But at a minimum, if they had done sort of the single player version of this game without any of the live service or looter aspects of it, like that, I think that would be a good model for the StarCraft universe. I mean, for all of us that played the original StarCraft, like, when we got to play those missions as the hero, like, those were awesome. Those were some of my favorite missions, the ones that were tailored for, you weren't base building, but you were doing kind of specialty missions with a hero. Like, those were really fun. And they had so much good story between the three races, and just all the drama between the characters and the different battles that were going on, and the subterfuge and all that. It was just so good. It was so good. The thing is, I'd love to go back to that, but I don't want to play an RTS. Like, and that's part of the difficulty. It's just that genre is not. It's not dead. Like, it still has a place. I think it would need to be, in order for me to want to play that, I'd have to have like a real nostalgia kick.
These colors don't run.
The enemies have been defeated.
So I think we'll play for a bit, kind of get warmed up for the night, and then we'll pick back up again with our discussion topics. Tonight we're going to be talking about Christianity and tough questions.
AIM scientists are fighting AIM forces. They want to defect. Help them.
Just like always, Avengers. It's not the advantage.
So how did we even get started talking about StarCraft? I don't remember. We were talking about Diablo Immortal. Oh, we were talking about Missteps by Blizzard. Obviously, there's the current stuff in the news, but I was really more thinking about like missteps as far as development.
Scientists are safe. Sending them pickup coordinates so they can evacuate.
So far, this is pretty easy. Like last night.
If you can gain control of AIM's network temporarily, I can infiltrate their security system. Head for the terminal so I can get you inside the lab. AIM's network is equipped with a multi-point authentication system. I need access to multiple terminals. The more the better. AIM will attempt to initiate a shutdown protocol if they gain access to the terminal. You cannot let them. Beginning infiltration. I'm inside AIM's security system. That helps, thank you.
Really? Okay. Well, let me go heal up because I don't want to go down. I forget if I go down at all. Do I? Can I not respawn, or is it the 3 times? Do I get 3 tries? Because I don't think I went down last night.
AIM security system. I've breached AIM security network.
We got company.
Looks like I got that health glitch again. If you see the bars on the top of the screen, usually I think it's 8 segments, but right there you saw I had a really big bar on the left hand side that took up about 3/4 of the space, and then 2 small bars on the right hand side. And it just does that randomly. I have no idea what causes that. I've heard a couple of streamers talk about it, but I haven't. It doesn't seem to be like a widespread recognized bug in the game. Guess we don't care about the door. Or maybe we do. Aw.
Every member of the elite team must be defeated.
So is there an exotic perk or something that does more damage to shields? Because I always feel like shields just take forever to take down. Yeah, see, look at my health bar now. It has 6 segments.
The location on your HUD. These enemies must be defeated.
What is happening? Oh, please don't lag out right now.
Attack formation! Coming at you!
Wait, what had me there? I didn't see any animation. nice.
Excellent work. You've dealt another blow to aim. You're not finished yet.
Alright, so next should be Heroic Gauntlet 2. Right? Yes. Oh, it's the same location. So that's probably why it didn't save the progress, is because it's the same mission location. Did you see that? It said that the Hulk mission was 100 power above me? That can't be right. I think the power levels for these missions are totally glitched. I don't really want to go in with 2 bots. So we'll wait another minute. I think I'm good with that. I'll ready up now. I think really 3 is enough. Based on how that just went, I think 3 is really plenty to get through it. You know what, I forgot to tweet again.
Be careful out there. We're all counting on you.
Alright, may not have time to do this.
Head for the location on your HUD. These enemies must be defeated.
Is this all your men?
Sorry, 1 second. And you YouTube is spelled with a capital T. Yes, I'm aware. Okay. So Twitch link. And YouTube link.
The enemies have been defeated.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. You did all the work for me there.
Indeed. I tried it with pineapple. Oh, it was quite good.
An elite AIM team is close by and on alert. Updating your HUD. Every member of the elite team must be defeated. One of their agents is down.
That was fast.
Coming at you.
Another agent down. Well done. That squad member has been neutralized. Another enemy defeated.
Ah,
The team are no longer a threat.
Well done, all. I don't know. Are you sure?
Head for the location on your HUD. These enemies must be defeated.
Scratch another bad guy.
Sweet. Not too shabby.
I wonder sometimes, is there a Steve Rogers outside of Captain America? Thanks.
Yes, probably.
If you can gain control of AIM's network temporarily, I can infiltrate their security system. AIM's network is equipped with a multi-point authentication system. I need access to
So is the third gauntlet only 4 floors?
The better.
I don't know, I've never gotten that far. I'm genuinely asking.
AIM will attempt to initiate a shutdown protocol if they gain access to the terminal. You cannot let them. That helps, thank you. I'm inside AIM's security system. AIM has initiated their shutdown protocol. Beginning infiltration.
Oh, there's the health glitch again.
I'm inside AIM security system. I've reached AIM security network.
We shall prevail.
Sometimes I forget to turn that off, and I realize I've just been talking to the people in the game for X amount of time about... They probably think I'm crazy.
Head for the location on your HUD. Look for a chest with gear nearby. These enemies must be defeated.
guy's doing more damage with one swing than I am with a takedown.
The enemies have been defeated.
So how did you go incognito? No one recognized you?
It was simple. I left the hammer and wore a different shirt.
An elite AIM team is close by and on alert. Updating your HUD.
Don't let them intimidate you! Catch!
One of their agents is down. Excellent. Another agent down.
Ouch. Let's go heal up.
Well done. That squad member has been neutralized.
That did nothing. Is that a glitch?
Another enemy defeated.
My takedown damage is really inconsistent.
The team are no longer a threat.
Nice. Alright, let's check out the third gauntlet. Hopefully that's only 4 floors. We'll see.
Hostiles!
Excellent work. You've dealt another blow to AIM. You're not finished yet.
Okay, I think now is as good as any of a time to start our discussion for the night. So, last night we went over the what it takes to become a Christian. We talked about confessing your sin and accepting your brokenness, repenting for your wrongdoing, and approaching God with that. And then the second aspect of it is believing that Jesus Christ came to die for your sins and rose again and defeated death. And so that'll be something that we'll be reiterating over and over again for new people that come on the channel. Because if there's one thing that matters truly for us to talk about, it's that. But tonight I wanted to kind of branch off a little bit onto a newer topic, which is tough questions that Christians sometimes face, and that conversely, that non-Christians may have hang-ups in accepting Christianity. They may see the appeal of believing in a all-powerful, all-loving creator that died for their sins and forgave them and gives them access to eternity with God, and the life-changing result of walking alongside the Holy Spirit in your life. How our hearts change from being self-centered to being others-centered and God-centered. The joy that we find in serving and loving others. There's so many things that come from being a believer and being infused with the grace of God. But some people there are some things that are just hang-ups for some people, and in accepting Christianity as true, as objectively true. And there were five things that I want to talk about, five objections, if you will, that I want to address. There are more than this. This is not an exhaustive list, and we won't cover all of these tonight. We'll probably need a couple of streams to cover these. But one of the main things that I hear when people object to the idea of a loving, gracious, merciful God is, well, what do we do about the evil in the world? How can evil exist when God is loving? Isn't God powerful enough to overcome the evil and to shield us from the evil and to make sure that there's no suffering in the world? So this is a question that has been deeply thought about and debated in philosophical and theological circles for a very, very long time. This is not a new objection, and the responses to the objection are not new either. There have been a variety of different arguments that have been put forth and rebuttals that have answered those arguments over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And the literature on this is very interesting to read. If you ever take time to go research this or listen to some debates perhaps on YouTube between Christians that posit that there is a omniscient, all-powerful, perfectly loving creator, there will be a lot of substance that you'll find in that content. I think that will be interesting. But in order to keep things kind of simple for our purposes, I think that there's this issue can be addressed on two levels. The first level has to do with continue. So let's select that mission again because for some reason we were doing pretty good about getting people into the game, and then now it's struggling. So I don't want to just sit there forever. So there's basically two ways to address that issue. The first way is more philosophical, and the other way is a little bit more related to the particulars of Christian theology. So I'm going to start with the Christian theology answer first, and then we'll branch out to the more philosophical answer. They're not disconnected. They're related, and they're certainly logically connected, but they're the arguments tend to come from different fields of work that have been done on this topic. So the more particular Christian theological answer to why is there evil when the God that we believe in also exists and is in the creator of the universe and in control of the universe. So the Christian answer is to say that God created mankind, and mankind chose to rebel against God. And in their choice to do that, they entered into a sinful state, and that's what we refer to as the sin nature. Mankind's fallen nature is that we tend towards sinful behavior. We do not tend towards good. We can do acts of good, and humans throughout human history have done acts of good, but we do not naturally tend towards good. We naturally tend towards selfishness, violence, pride, greed, and various other evils. So because we exist in our fallen state as a result of the rebellion of God's created man, we live in a world in which there is evil. There are acts of evil committed by man. There's violent acts committed every day. There's acts of severe and heinous crimes that are committed every day, and there's also less publicized and less what we would perceive as less severe crimes like greed and pride and selfishness that are at the root of a lot of those things that also occur every day. So when we see that kind of evil in the world, the evil that originates with human action, that explains why how God and evil can exist at the same time, that they're not mutually exclusive concepts. But there's another category of evil, and this is some people don't like referring to it as evil because it's not sentient. So an example would be like a tornado that rips through a town in Nebraska and kills 20 people. Or hurricanes that occur off of various coasts along the U.S. and plenty of other countries in the world as well that damage homes, injure and kill people. There are just natural disasters, I guess I'll put it that way, where they cause suffering, but they don't. It's difficult to call them evil because they're not. A tornado doesn't have a mind of its own in the same way that a murderer has a mind of his or her own. A tornado can't decide to do anything; it just does. So what about that? The suffering that's caused by those things? Well, the Christian theological answer to that question is that the world that we exist in has always had those things, and that life and death have always been a part of it. The difference is that the difference between the way that God created man and the way that man is now is that the death was not the end for mankind. It was just part of their lifetime. So now that's still true. We're still finite. Average life expectancy in America is whatever it is, 85 years or whatever. So of course we all die. That's inevitable for us to die. But for many, the death, because we've rebelled against God, we're in a state where we, if we choose to continue rebelling against God for our entire lives, God grants us that option by allowing us to spend eternity apart from Him after we die, because our souls are eternal. So the difference in when we're talking about natural disasters and that kind of suffering that occurs is that the suffering is done within it exists in the context of man having a perfect relationship with God, as opposed to man not having a perfect relationship with God and being separated from God. So those are the two types of suffering that we can see, and that would be your theological answer for why those things are not mutually exclusive. So we're going to try this again because I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's because the third gauntlet, like because the other guys dropped out. Maybe I'm just having trouble matchmaking because it's the third one. I don't want to have this happen again. This would be terrible if I had to redo this again later. I don't feel like going through both 1 and 2 again. Now, one other way that some Christians answer this, it's not necessarily a universal answer. One other way that Christians answer this is to say that the other kind of suffering, that the tornado kind of suffering, is that kind of stuff didn't exist before man was fallen, and man being fallen and transitioned the world into a state of causing suffering and death on a regular basis. So there's a couple different explanations for that, but fundamentally, it was man's rebellion that caused this. So we are responsible ultimately for the suffering and evil in the world. Now, of course, the natural objection to that is to say, okay, well, sure, that explains its origin, but since God's so powerful, can't He do something about it? Can't He stop it from happening? And this is where the theological answer is actually really important, in that we are broken, we are sinful, there's a chasm between us and God, and we have fallen short of His standard of holiness and perfection. And because we've sinned against Him, we are in a state of having something that needs to close that gap. And we've already talked about that idea, closing the gap, closing the chasm. The only thing that can do that is Christ. And that's why God sent Christ to die for us, to forgive us of our sins, so that we could be united back to Him, to be reunited to Him, so that sin cannot be in the way. And so because of our crimes, because of our sins, we deserve punishment. We deserve to be apart from God. So to say that there's evil and suffering in the world, that answer would be, yeah, sure, there is, because we are in a fallen state, and that's what we deserve. We deserve to be punished for the fact that we are fallen, that we have rebelled against the Creator. And it is through God's grace that He reunites us. It's not through any merit or anything that we do, but by God's grace that we are allowed to be reunited with Him. So that would be the theological answer to the problem of evil. Now, the philosophical answer is a little bit more generalized, and it has to do with what we're in a position to know. So, oftentimes, atheist and non-Christian philosophers will say, well, we know that there's suffering in the world, but we also see acts of excessive, unnecessary suffering in the world. And it's that kind of suffering that God could and should prevent from occurring. And why is it saying waiting for other players? Why can't we just start? Gosh, that took forever, huh? So, I lost my train of thought there. We were talking about philosophy, what the atheist objection is. Oh yeah, unnecessary, excessive and unnecessary suffering. So they posit that because we observe that things are excessive and unnecessary, and they'll give examples like, and I know this is uncomfortable to say, but examples like the rape of children and murder of the elderly and prolonged suffering from cancer and things like that, that from the outside seem to us like they're excessive suffering, like the person didn't have to go through that, and unnecessary. So they'll posit that we observe those things, we observe that it's unnecessary and excessive, therefore it is. Now, the response to that, the rebuttal to that, is to say that the idea that we observe it's that way, so therefore it is that way, only takes into account our own finite perspective. It doesn't take into account God's omniscient perspective, which can see how all things are tied together and how all acts of evil and the resulting suffering, whether by natural causes or by humans, how everything plays together, how all of the pieces of the puzzle fit together. So even though for us, with most of our fields of study, like science, for example, we observe things and then we make hypotheses about things, and we look for data to try to prove theories. That's essentially the process that we've used to arrive at this conclusion that there's excessive, unnecessary suffering. But the argument in response to that is that there's not a reason to think that thought process, that process of gathering data and making conclusions, is necessarily valid for propositions about God and his knowledge. So for all we know, God could have good reason for allowing that suffering to happen. And if he does, which we wouldn't know, then it no longer, by definition, it's no longer unnecessary or excessive. And therefore you've disproven the idea that, or you haven't disproven in the technical sense of proven, you've cast doubt on and undermined the idea that excessive pain and suffering do exist. So those are the answers to both from the philosophical arena and from the theological arena to this idea of evil. And one other tidbit that I'll throw in as a believer, and on a more I guess, kind of empathetic or emotional level. So I really don't understand why we're locked in here. Like, why can't I ready up? And I'm surprised these guys haven't left yet. Well, I guess we'll just keep waiting for a fourth. So, that other tidbit is that, and this actually harkens back to a topic we discussed last week about how our character is refined by knowing Jesus. The change, we still experience suffering and hardship as believers just like anybody else does. That doesn't change, and it also doesn't change that we sin. So we still commit acts of sin against others that we have to seek recompense for and forgiveness for because we wronged others. We're not excluded from, like, we still need to do that. It's still our responsibility to seek forgiveness when we've wronged others. I lost my train of thought again. I'm kind of distracted by this because I don't know why it's saying waiting for other players. We didn't have to have 4 people before. So is that just a glitch again? I don't know. So as Christians, though, we embrace hardship in life because we know that if our minds and our spirits are healthy, we embrace hardship because it results in perseverance and proven character. And there's a verse about that, a very powerful verse about that from the book of James in the Bible. Let me pull it up. I don't have it memorized. I should, but I don't have it memorized, so I'll read it here. He says starting in verse 2, James chapter 1 verse 2 says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." And by trials he means just the challenging things in life. "For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." And then later on, he says, let me find that verse. Yeah, see, someone left and now we're allowed to go. What's with that? You know, at this point, I'm just going to ready up because I don't want to lose this guy. Oh, I'm sorry, I had the wrong reference. This is from Romans chapter 5. Starting in verses 3 through 5, it says, the Apostle Paul says, "And not only this, but we also celebrate in our tribulations," again, similar to the idea of trials, the difficult and challenging things in life, which can include suffering. "And not only this, but we also celebrate in our tribulations, knowing that tribulation brings about perseverance, and perseverance proven character, and proven character hope, and hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who is given to us." So if we are healthy spiritually and we're walking with Christ, we embrace trials and tribulations in our life because we are allowing God to refine us and make us more like Christ. And just think about even in your own life, even if you're not a believer, just think about how the many trials you've experienced, how some of them, if not all of them, have made you a better person. How you have learned things about yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise learned had it not been for that tough thing that you went through. So the way this relates back to suffering and evil in the world is that we accept tribulation because it's God refining us. And it sucks in the moment, obviously. It sucks. It doesn't mean that we smile, just smile throughout the whole thing. And that's a misconception, I think. We don't. So we're waiting for other players. There's no other players. There's 4 players. So what are we waiting for? Anybody? Any ideas? I don't know what's going on. Okay, let me turn on my mic and see if I can ask these guys. Does anybody know why it still says waiting for other players?
I have no idea. Unless we're all supposed to be different people.
I think we're allowed to be the same.
Yeah, I know we're allowed to be the same. I don't know if we can be the same in distance. We got you, Kamala's. I'm Captain America, and we got you, Caps.
Yeah. Maybe, oh, you know what? Isn't this, so doesn't the, oh wait, now it says ready up. What the heck? Okay. I guess it's okay now. Maybe someone was still loading in or something.
Oh, probably.
Okay, well, it looks like it works now. Okay, that guy was nice. So it looks like we just had to wait. We just had to be patient. So we don't smile through all of our tribulations, but we do embrace the end result, which is, as Scripture points out, hope. Proven character, which leads to hope. Hope, and the hope is not, yes, there's hope that the tribulation will end, but it's also hope in what God can work in our lives and trust that God is in control of what's going on in our lives and
Be careful out there. We're all counting on you.
lives around us. So when we see evil and suffering in the world, of course our heart breaks for other people that are experiencing that. We never wish trial on someone. But we recognize that that's a part of the way God designed our characters to be refined, and so we accept that and we embrace that as something that ultimately yields hope. So when we talk with others that are suffering, we can the gospel message, the message of Christ, clearly, as you guys have seen, can offer hope. It offers hope. Sometimes people have nothing. When they're suffering, they have nothing to look forward to. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. And so
Head for the location
they
on your HUD.
this message is appealing for that reason. Now, we've talked about critical thinking and emotion versus logic and all that, and I've tried to do my best to explain the the logical arguments for what I'm talking about. But there are, admittedly, there are emotional and ultimately it's spiritual reasons for accepting these truths. And primarily, as a believer, I would say, and I'm going to hold firm to this, that I believe it's true because Scripture says that it's true, because in God's revealed Word, He says that it's true. I'm not in a position to be able to doubt God, which is consistent with the idea of not being in a position to pronounce that there's unnecessary evil and suffering in the world because I can't see it. I don't have the mind of God. I don't have the God's mind's eye to be able to make that claim for certain. So I forgot to check how many floors this is. I guess we'll see it after this one's done. But I'm hoping it's 4 or less. 'Cause this is long, man. This is long. So 2 of the other topics, or 4 of the other topics that I want to talk about is one. Sometimes people bring up, well, sure, like Christianity sounds great, but there's other religions in the world, and how do you know that this is the only path to God? How do you know that this is the only true thing to believe in? So it's related to the idea of relativism, spiritual relativism, which I believe is objectively false, and there's very good reasons for believing that it's objectively false, but we'll talk about that on a different stream. Then there's the next one, number 3, is what about heaven and hell? How can I believe in a God that sends people to hell for not believing? Doesn't that make love seem obligatory rather than a choice? I've heard that one as well. That's a fairly common objection. But I think there's also, of course I think that there are very good theological reasons for rebutting that. And then the 4th objection is what is in the way that Christians live out their lives. Why do Christians seem hypocritical sometimes? And that one we've actually already addressed somewhat in this section about misconceptions of Christianity. We talked about the idea that just because we believe in Christ doesn't mean that we stop sinning. That was never promised by God, and it's certainly not something that takes form in reality. And then the fifth objection that I have heard, and this is more of a personal, subjective point of view, is to say, hey, I want to live my life the way I want to live it. I don't want anyone else to dictate it. And it kind of comes from the mindset of, it's an anti-authoritarian, like, I don't want someone else to tell me what to do, what to believe in, what to accept. I have the right as an individual to determine those things for myself. And that argument, I would actually, you can kind of bypass it actually by saying, well, yes, you do have the right to believe whatever you want, but that doesn't make it true. And if you truly understood what it meant to submit to God's design and His desires for you, you wouldn't find that unattractive. It's only because you don't understand what God desires for you that results in you having that sense of stubborn individualism, if you will. So we'll go into that deeper. That I don't want that to be like the full response. So if you're wondering, like, hey, that doesn't fully address it, I agree. I get it. We'll talk about it more later. I think each of these topics will probably take a full stream, so we'll save topic number 2 about, well, is Christianity the only way? We'll save that for Thursday, probably. I haven't decided yet if we're going to talk about that on Thursday or if maybe we're going to rewind and talk about one of the miscellaneous topics, because one of the topics that we broached on last night was the idea of how misinformation about Christianity has spread in video games and television, so specifically like TV shows and movies. And I gave a couple of like minor examples, but I wanted to delve into that a little bit deeper. Because the reason that's important is because if you may have your objections to Christianity, and that's fine, and I want there to be discussion about that. But if the objections are based on misinformation, or just things that are outright wrong, objectively wrong, then that's not going to help you any more than it's going to help me in determining what's true. So if I can help clarify like some things that media has, and when I say media, I specifically mean video games and movies / TV. If we can learn to deconstruct what those falsehoods are, then it'll be easier to see the logical arguments for and against the various Christian ideas.
Scientists are safe. Sending them
So I'm hoping you'll bear with me for that amount of time and that we'll stick together and really get through these things, because I think they're fascinating. As you can tell, like I like talking about this, and they're fascinating topics. I really love reading and discussing philosophy in addition to Christian theology and my personal faith life, which I'm, obviously sharing some of that with you guys, but the philosophy of it's fascinating as well, and the logic and the objective, rational argumentation is something that I'm very fond of. So I hope you guys will join me in that. And if you're not necessarily the kind of person that is, speaks in syllogisms, right, that's okay too. We're going to be talking about this from all different angles and facets, so I don't think anybody will be left behind. And if you do feel like it's getting a little bit too complex or difficult to understand, speak up in the chat. I'm happy to approach things from another angle. I'm not here to try to sound smart. I'm here to share what I think is true.
Is close by and on alert. Updating your HUD.
Obscuring reality
Not a problem.
and objective truth doesn't do me any good, and it doesn't do you any good.
I can do this.
So this, what we're experiencing right now because I died once, I now can't play the rest of the content, is really lame. At most, what they should have done is you die on a floor, and then the next floor you respawn, right? Like you leave it to 3. The punishment is that the other 3 players have to clear the floor, which might be challenging. But then you get to respawn, because it's just I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes now, just not playing. I'm just watching other people play. So it's just not, obviously not fun for me.
Another agent down.
And I also can't see how many floors we have left. Okay, let me look at my champion points while we're doing this. So I got 4 champion points. Defensive boosts permanently increase willpower by 4%.
The team are no longer a threat.
As long as there's the health glitch, I don't think that's gonna necessarily help all that much. The utility boosts permanently increases the charge rate of all heroics. by 2.5%, permanently boost the chance of activating perks, and permanently reduce damage from all elemental and status effects. I don't know.
You okay? You're uncharacteristically quiet.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Every now and then it just hits me that I'm standing here with Captain America and I...
More stun damage is cool.
Does it ever get old?
Heroic damage is good. I think I might do a heroic, maybe drop a couple points into heroic damage. I don't see myself ever filling out this whole tree. I think so there's 4... I did the math on this the other day, but I forget what it is. So you need 1 point for the first row, 2 points for the second row, right?
If you can gain control of
4
AIM's
points for
network
the third row,
temporarily,
8 points for
I
the
can
fifth row,
infiltrate their security
sorry,
system.
fourth row, and
Head for the terminal so I can get you
16
inside
points
the
for
lab.
the fifth row. So whip out the trusty TI-83 Plus, and we get each column is 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16.
AIM's network is equipped with a multi-point authentication system. I need access to multiple terminals. The more the better.
My camera
AIM
or
will
my
attempt to initiate a
respawned.
shutdown
Vibrated. I thought
if they
I
gain
respawned.
access to the terminal. You
So
can't
it's
let
1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 for a column. So you need 31 champion points to unlock a column. And there's 12 columns.
I'm inside AIM's
So 31 times 12 is 372 champion levels to unlock one character's champion tree. And none of those points overlap to other characters. So you'd have to do 372 for every character.
Beginning infiltration. That helps, thank you. I'm inside AIM's security system. That helps, thank you. AIM has initiated their shutdown protocol.
Let's take a look at this Captain America and see how his playstyle differs
AIM is
from
trying
mine.
to remove me from their systems. Beginning infiltration. That helps, thank you.
Starting to fade, guys. Got you a present. Had to happen.
AIM is trying to remove me from their systems.
Back off.
Uh-oh. We're down to two players.
The shutdown protocol is progressive.
To battle!
That helps, thank you.
Wait, how did he respawn?
AIM has initiated their shutdown protocol.
Wait, did that guy just join? Or how did he...
That helps, thank you.
Wait a second.
Inside face!
Beginning infiltration.
Wait, was that the Captain America before? Wait, how is he allowed to spawn...
I've breached AIM's security network.
How's he able to spawn back in?
Aim has arrived.
Let me ask him again. Is there a way for me to spawn back in?
We can take them.
Switch a character.
Oh, okay. Alright, I didn't know that. I could have been fighting the last few floors. Sorry about that. I'll switch right now.
Yeah, because I just died and I had to switch to my Thor.
Okay. Yeah, I have really low level characters though, so I don't know how much that's gonna help.
My Thor's pretty damn powerful. You have to just stick behind it.
So giants?
Okay, yeah, I'll just kind of stay in the back.
Brother Loki is a giant. rather small.
So let's see. How do I switch characters?
Head for the location on your HUD.
How do you switch characters mid-mission? Oh, I didn't see that on my screen. All I see is the option to switch view to look at you guys. Oh, that's probably true, yeah. None of them are even close to 150, except my cap. Well, you should give me one of your characters. If only it worked that way. How many more floors are there? It doesn't even show that on my screen.
We're on four. We've got 5 floors.
Okay. See, those are the type of people that I really appreciate in games. Just make...
There is a chest with gear close
make things
by.
so much more fun.
These enemies must be defeated.
So I think we'll wait for them to be done, and then I think I'm going to call it a night, because I did not get very good sleep last night. I haven't really been getting very good sleep since late last week, so I'm going to try to go to bed a little bit earlier tonight. It's already 11:40 anyway, so I think we're not going to end up cutting off more than maybe 10 minutes of the stream. But I think after this it'll be a good stopping point. We'll check out what exotics we got, and then call it quits. So this is random, but I was just looking in the App Store, Apple Arcade, and I noticed a little banner for Call of Duty Mobile Zombies mode. So actually, I played a little bit of COD Mobile, and it's actually pretty fun. But I had no idea that they were adding a zombies mode to it. So I'll probably check that out. Unfortunately, I have no idea how to stream from my phone. I have an iPhone, so I think I might need an Apple TV to do it. I'm not really sure. Actually, if you know, I'd be curious to figure out how, because there are a handful of games that I would consider, mobile games that I would consider playing on stream. Specifically some puzzle games that I found. There's a really fun puzzle game called Lumen that I've been enjoying so far. The Room 2. I like the Room series. I played the first one on my phone. And then I played the third one with my wife on the computer. I have not played the second one yet, so I do want to check that out at some point. I just don't know how the capture card works with the phone.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the mega height.
What was that?
I guess we're doing a mega high.
Yeah, we are. This is the last gauntlet for it. For me, anyway.
Yeah, I've already done all these. I don't know what kind of reward I get for.
Do you only get exotics once a week for doing it?
Far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
Like the only thing they added is you can have other players with you now. And if you're doing it solo, you're all by yourself.
Right. Okay.
An elite
Yeah,
team
I
is
can
close
imagine.
by on
Yeah,
alert.
I don't know what rewards there are. I think for people that have already done it, maybe some legendaries or something.
Every member of the elite team must be defeated.
The conundrum I was thinking about was because the setup I have is I have a capture card, so that the input is from the like in this case from the PS5, the console, the device playing the game, inputs into the capture card, and then the output from the capture card is an HDMI cable that goes into the monitor. Right, and then there's obviously it bypasses through or splits off the capture card to the streaming laptop, and that's how you guys can see it. But if it's a phone, you'd have to have the input of the phone or the output from the phone go into the capture card, and then the output from the capture card would go to a monitor, but I don't know how to connect. I don't know if you can just do a USB, whatever it is, whatever the USB port is on this port is on the bottom of an iPhone. I'm not super tech savvy, so I'm not sure what type of USB port that is. If you have to just convert that to HDMI and then plug that into the capture card.
If that doesn't count for you, I can stick with you.
Excellent work. You've dealt
Let's see. So
you're not finished yet.
yeah, I didn't get an exotic. I actually have to get going. Unfortunately, I thought I was gonna get an exotic for doing that, but I didn't. Was it because I died?
Yeah, it's because you died.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll have to do that again some other time.
You gotta survive all the way to the end.
Okay.
I don't know, you may still have a mission.
Yeah, that actually would be a good thing to check. Let me check that, if I'm still on Gauntlet 3 or not. Oops. Did not mean to start that.
Oh well.
Alright, well, I gotta get going, but thanks for the help. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. I also just don't know if like the phone handles output like that, like in the same way that a PS5 or a computer is built to send a signal to a monitor. A iPhone isn't really built that way. I think you can cast it onto like an Apple TV, but that's a bit different. So I'm not really sure how that works. Right, so far we've just done PC, PS5, and Switch, and those all work for me, but I have not even tried doing the phone. So I did not realize that I had to survive, and yeah, that's a big bummer. So man, we pretty much spent the whole stream on that, and I didn't get anything for it. So, I don't know if we're gonna try this again on Thursday, or maybe if I'll maybe play some off stream tomorrow night, and then if I have time, and then we'll come back on Thursday, and maybe we'll try the OLT possibly on Thursday, since it's maybe a little bit faster, and I think it's 2 guaranteed exotics. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap up for the night now, since this is a good stopping point. Thanks so much for coming out, guys. If you enjoyed hanging out, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe on Twitch, drop a like on YouTube. Just helping kind of spread the word would be awesome. The more people we have in our discussions, the better, and chance to really walk through some of these topics and just enjoy some fun, relaxing gameplay too together. So I'm going to be off stream tomorrow night. I should be back on Thursday night around 10 o'clock. So I hope everybody has an awesome Wednesday, and I'll see you guys in a couple nights. Take care.